This is Wacko with Boxing Confidential. We're here with famed promoter Dennis Rappaport as he prepares his fighter Oleg Maskaev for the March 8th WBC showdown with Samuel Peter in Cancun, Mexico. Thanks for your time, Dennis.
My pleasure to be with you.
Alright, well, my first question is on March 8th, your fighter, Oleg, will fight Sam. You're currently involved in heavy litigation against that organization. And how afraid are you that the dispute will influence the judges against you?
Well, we're really concerned. There's a classic conflict of interest. We have an open court case with the WBC. We've just filed for mediation. We feel that the behavior of the WBC is unconscionable. So to have them select the officials in a situation where they're being sued and other legal action is pending is a classic case of conflict of interest, and we're extremely concerned about the credibility and the integrity of the event.
Can you briefly summarize some of the grievances you have? I know you can't say everything, but just mention some of the major issues that you want to be brought into the public light.
Well, there's so many issues, and there's so many examples of the WBC creating double standards, selective enforcement of their rules, blatant bias in favor of Don King, complete disrespect of Oleg Maskaev. Let me give you some specifics. When we first had a purse offering, Dino Duva wrote a check. The check bounced. It took the WBC 33 days to notify us that the check bounced after earlier telling us that they had the money on deposit. It was a complete lie. Number two, a fight that should have taken place within 90 days, they gave 5 months and never asked the champion his position. They gave a split, never happened before in the history of the WBC. The normal split is 70% for a champion, 30% for a challenger. Because Don King promoted Peter, somehow, miraculously, in a bizarre fashion, they made it 55% to the champion and 45% to the challenger. The only thing in their rules that calls for deviation from the purse split is in a situation where a former champion returns to the ring who had huge marquee value. Hello world, Peter was never a champion, okay, and he never had high marquee value to this day. I mean, we could go on and on for the things that they've done. It's indefensible, and our day will be heard. I will not allow any organization that shows this pattern of, well, let me not say criminal behavior, but this pattern to use or abuse or disrespect their own champion and the man that I represent. Okay, it's reprehensible.
All right, well, in one of our interviews, Bernd Bond, the manager of Vitaly Klitschko, states that the winner of this fight will in fact face Vitaly. Is this true, and is it another issue that you have a problem with the WBC on?
Well, it's interesting. We had an agreement when we were negotiating, a verbal agreement, that it was a 60-40 split. Somehow they asked the WBC, and the WBC says, well, look, if you win and you beat Peter, we're going to reward you. Now, instead of getting 55%, you're getting 50%. Look, the reality is that if they wanted to make a split between Maskaev and Klitschko, something more than the 70-30, at least in Klitschko's case, he's a former champion that had marquee value, okay? To make it 50-50, this wasn't even in their rule book. They changed the rule after they made the announcement. I have a lot of respect for Vitaly Klitschko, not for the behavior of the WBC, and hopefully his people and us will be able to get together and do something that's fair and right. We're not looking past Samuel Peter. The world has him as the coming of Mike Tyson. We believe he's more analogous to Cicely Tyson, but that's another story. But we do have respect for him. He's a strong guy. He's a solid puncher. I heard his manager say last week in an interview that there was going to be an avalanche in Germany when Kovacic would fight Vayulov, and that he's the hurricane, Peter, and a hurricane is going to hit Cancun, Mexico, where the fight is taking place on HBO on March 8th. Well, if there was an avalanche in Germany, maybe there was a little movement of a breeze of a tree, it moved. And if there's a hurricane, well, let me put it this way. obviously there's an identity crisis. He was called Sam the Nightmare Peter. Then they called him Sam the Sledgehammer. Now he's Sam the Hurricane. Let me tell you something. He's going to wake up the morning of March 9th, and he's going to realize that he was in a nightmare. And that nightmare is Oleg Maskaev.
Is there any bad blood between you and Vologotov, the man who represents both Peter and Lechovich, who just fought Nikolai Valuk?
I got to be real honest with you, okay? This may not be good for publicity. I like Avalo. You know, Avalo's a charming guy. This is really nothing personal. I found him to be a likable guy. We broke some bread together. If he puts a dig at me, I'm a guy that reacts. We'll respond to that. But no, there really isn't any bad blood. I just don't like the champion of the world being disrespected in any form, in any manner. It's unjustified. It's just not right.
Now, let me ask you something about, we just talked about Vitaly Klitschko. I personally don't think that the status of an emeritus champion bears any relevance to the sport of boxing because, first of all, he has a lot of injuries, and second of all, I mean, once you retire, you should stay retired, or, that's just my take on it. So I was wondering if you agree, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, it was more an honor, sort of an honor to be called champion emeritus. What the WBC did, in addition to that, was to tell him that if he ever returned to the ring, he would get the first opportunity for fighting for the title. I think the Klitschkos ought to be respected as human beings, and I think they're very positive examples, and they're very good goodwill ambassadors for boxing. In the case of Vitaly and injury, what could I say? The reality is that he was injured 4 consecutive times against Rockman. He was injured when he fought McCline. He's had a back injury. We hope he's healthy. Are there concerns? Obviously, I'd be lying to you if I told you that there wasn't concerns, about signing a fight and then will he be able to prepare for it. But look, injury is something that nobody has a control except the good man upstairs. In Oleg's case, we had an injury once in his career that caused a delay. His doctors wrote to BC that he'd be ready to fight in 120 days. And all of a sudden, they decide they're going to make Sam Peter the interim champion without having to fight someone. And then when their rules call that he should fight the next highest available contender, they put him in with a guy who wasn't even ranked in their top 20. They only ranked Jamal after the facts, after they announced the fight. Why would they make him an interim champion? Okay, for 120 days. I mean, the world isn't stupid. They knew they were in trouble by their 55-45% split. That was unprecedented. So now they make him interim champion to frustrate our legal action on that, because an interim champion is supposed to get 45%. Did they think that everyone's heads are in the clouds, our feet are off the ground, and we believe in Alice in Wonderland? Hey, look, I may still believe in Santa Claus, but I don't believe every day is Christmas, okay? And, we're dealing in the twilight zone when it comes to the WBC and their decisions. The first time, the only one that could believe the decisions that they make are rational would be somebody that's still rattling the slats in their crib.
Let me ask you something. Don King likes to wear the Santa suit. Do you see him as Santa Claus at all?
Don King as Santa Claus?
Yeah. You haven't seen Don King in a Santa suit?
If Don King was Santa Claus, they'd have to change the holiday. The holiday would be not in giving, would be strictly a question of taking, grabbing, taking, grabbing. No, I can't see Don King as Santa Claus.
All right.